Robbie Robertson and Levon Helm were more than musicians who worked together. They were like brothers. Robbie Robertson and Levon Helm had a bond that meant a lot to them. They played a part in making the band a really important group in rock music. The band had some amazing songs, and people still talk about their shows. Even with all the great music, Robbie Robertson and the band and Levon Helm and the band had some serious problems that caused trouble between Robbie Robertson and Levon Helm for a very long time. Towards the end of his life, Robertson was very open about his feelings. He talked about the things that happened between him and Helm. This surprised a lot of people who liked their music. It also gave people a way to think about the problems that Robertson and Helm had. The story of Robertson and Helm is really sad. They were like brothers because they made music together. The music is what brought Robertson and Helm close. Not after that, Robbie Robertson, a young man from Canada who played the guitar, joined the band. The band, which included Rick Danko, Richard Manuel, and Garth Hudson, were a musical group. They used to play with Hawkins. They wanted to do their own thing. The year 1965 was a deal for the band. That is when Bob Dylan asked the Hawks to go on tour with him. At that time, Bob Dylan was changing the kind of music he played. He was moving away from folk music and towards electric rock music. This change upset a lot of people who listened to his music. The Hawks, who were now called the band, helped to make it work. The band gave Bob Dylan the power and the realness that he needed. Helm and Robertson were standing together on stage. They were facing some tough crowds. People were booing them. Helm and Robertson were united. They had been through a lot. This kind of thing can create bonds between people. Helm and Robertson had a connection because of what they had been through. The band came out with their album Music from Big Pink in 1968. Then they released their album, which was also called The Band. They had some great songs like The Wait and I Shall Be Released. These songs helped the band create a sound that people still love today. The band mixed rock music and folk music and Americana music in a way that sounded new and different. Robertson wrote the songs and Helm sang them. This is how the band made music that people will always remember. The band were always together during this time. Robertson said that Levon Helm was like a brother to him. Even the best relationships can get really bad when people have to deal with being famous, not having money, and getting hurt emotionally. The relationships can really struggle with all this pressure, from fame and finances and the emotional wounds they get. The band was doing great by the early 1970s. They made some albums like Stage Fright and Cahoots. These albums showed how good the band was at making music and how hard it was for them to deal with being famous. The band wrote songs like The Shape I Am In and Stage Fright that talked about how they loved music, but also how stressed they were about all the attention they were getting. The band members, Robertson and Helm, started to have some differences. Robertson was the person who wrote songs for the band, so people thought of him as the leader. He wanted the band to try things and make different kinds of music. The band was. Robertson was the one who was pushing them to do new things. Helm had a music style that was really connected to the South. They wanted to keep their music sounding real and true to who they were. It began with the band members not seeing eye to eye on their music. Over time, this turned into bad feelings towards each other. Helm's music was very important to them. They wanted to stay true to the Southern sound that Helm was known for. The big change happened in 1976 when the band played their concert. This concert was filmed by Martin Scorsese. It is called The Last Waltz. Robertson thought this was a way to celebrate what the band had done. They had a lot of friends come to play with them, like Bob Dylan, Eric Clapton, and Joni Mitchell. Helm did not feel the same way about the film. He thought it was too much about Robertson and not enough about the people in the band. Helm wrote about this in his book This Wheel's on Fire. He said the film did not show what the band was like when they played together. The way he saw his brother in music had left him and the band's music behind. After the waltz, Robertson quit touring, but Helm kept on performing. Helm had a lot of money problems and personal issues. This made him really resentful. The guy who was like a brother to Robertson became someone Helm saw as a competitor, someone who was causing him a lot of stress. Helm said out loud that Robertson was taking much credit for the songs they wrote and too much money, which turned a private argument into a really famous fight in the world of rock music. The music of the band was important to Helm. He felt that Robertson was not being fair to him or the band's music. It was really hard for fans to see two artists who made great music together become enemies. These two artists had created music that meant a lot to people. Now, they did not get along. Watching this happen was very painful for the people who loved their music. The music that these two artists made together was very special. It is sad to see them as enemies now. In the 1990s, people found out about the problems in the band. The band had problems, and in 1993, Levon Helm wrote a book called This Wheel's on Fire. He said some things that surprised people. Levon Helm said Robbie Robertson controlled the money, got all the attention, and took credit for writing most of the songs. The band's fans were very surprised because they thought the band was a team where everyone was equal. Levon Helm also said that when Robbie Robertson decided to stop touring after the Waltz, it caused big problems for the other members of the band. They had trouble with money. It was hard for them personally. The band was not doing well after Robbie Robertson made this decision. Robertson did not often talk about this in public. He said that when they worked together, they never said mean things to each other. This was until they broke up. Robertson felt sad about what happened. He did not feel angry. People thought badly of Robertson because of what Helm wrote in his book. The book made people think Robertson was the guy. Robertson and Helm worked together for a time, and Robertson said that the book changed how people saw him. Robertson. Levon Helm had a time during this period. He had a lot of money problems, and things got worse when he got throat cancer in the 1990s. This made it hard for Levon Helm to sing for a while. Robertson thinks that Levon Helm's problems made him angrier because it was easier for Levon Helm to think about fights than deal with what was happening in his life. With all the issues, Robertson said in interviews that he still cared about Levon Helm and thought of Levon Helm like family. Robertson felt this way even if Levon Helm did not feel the same. The problems between them showed how much Levon Helm and Robertson's lives were still connected to each other. Helm thought Robertson was the reason he was hurting much. On the hand, Robertson saw Helm as a brother who needed help, but he just could not get through to him. They had a lot of feelings for each other. It was a combination of love and anger. This complicated situation with Helm and Robertson lasted for a time and even continued into the 2000s, with Helm and Robertson still having these feelings. In April 2012, Levon Helm was really sick with cancer. He had been doing a lot better, was even performing his Midnight Rambles concerts in Woodstock, New York. The cancer came back. Robertson knew Levon Helm did not have a lot of time left, so he went to the hospital to see him. Robertson said on Facebook that he spent a lot of time with Levon Helm thinking about all the times they had together. He said Levon Helm was one of the talented people he had ever met, and Levon Helm was like an older brother to him. He said that he felt very lucky to be able to see Levon Helm one time, and that he would always love Levon Helm and miss Levon Helm forever. At Levon Helm's bedside were his daughter Amy, his partner Libby Titus, and her husband Donald Fagen of Steely Dan. Robbie Robertson thought about how kind they were to him during a sad time. One day before, when Robbie Robertson was at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame ceremony in Cleveland, Robbie Robertson had already told everyone how much he cared about Levon Helm and was sending love and prayers to Levon Helm. People who knew Helm said he never really got over what happened. Don Imus, a guy who has a radio show, said that Helm was still pretty upset about it near the end of his life. Helm passed away on April 19, 2012, when he was 71 years old. For Robertson, losing Helm was very hard. It was also very complicated. He had said goodbye to Helm. They never really worked things out with Helm. When Levon Helm passed away, people thought Robbie Robertson would be a part of the tributes to him. At the Grammy Awards, when they did a special performance of The Weight to honor Levon Helm, Robbie Robertson was not there. The people who sang The Weight were Mavis Staples, Zac Brown, T-Bone Burnett, and Mumford & Sons. Jonathan Taplin, who used to manage Levon Helm's tours, wrote on his blog about what happened. He said that Sandy Helm, Levon Helm's wife, had asked Robbie Robertson not to be part of the tribute. Jonathan Taplin said this was all part of a sad story about Robbie Robertson and Levon Helm not getting along. Taplin said he was really upset that Robertson was not included. He liked the tribute performance. This decision made a lot of people talk about it again. Some people thought Sandy was being respectful of her husband's feelings. Other people thought it was a chance for everyone to make up that was missed. There was another concert in 2012, a Love for Levon benefit concert, and Robertson was not there either. Some musicians who were close to Helm, like Larry Campbell, said that sometimes it was hard to know why Helm made decisions. Robertson did not say much. He just thought that saying goodbye in private was enough. For him, the tribute performance was. For the love of Levon and Robertson was not part of it. After Helm passed away, Robertson thought about the time they spent together in the band. He said that the band never really fought with each other. Robertson liked to talk about how he loved Helm. He thought of Helm like a brother. He remembered all the times they went on tour together, made music together, and wrote songs that people still love today. The songs they made are a part of rock music. Robertson and the band made some great music with Helm. When it comes to Helm's anger, Robertson said he felt really sad about the thing. He was not trying to defend himself. He wished he could have helped Helm. Robertson said it made him sad that Levon Helm had gotten so angry and that he could not do anything to fix Helm's anger. Robertson had an interesting life. He found out something about himself later on. The man he thought was his dad was not really his dad. His real dad was Alexander Kledgerman, a gangster who got killed before Robertson was even born. This really changed how he thought about who he was and what family meant to him. His relatives from his dad's side of the family were really supportive of his music. He had a lot of relationships with his family and the people he considered to be like brothers, to him mostly because of music. Robertson's life was full of ups and downs, especially when it came to his family and the people he cared about like his brothers. On August 9, 2023, Robbie Robertson died in Los Angeles at the age of 80. He had been fighting prostate cancer. Robbie Robertson was with his family when he died, including his wife Janet Zuccarini and his first wife Dominique, who was the mother of Robbie Robertson's children. That year in November, Martin Scorsese put together a concert to remember Robbie Robertson in Los Angeles. A lot of people were there like Joni Mitchell and Leonardo DiCaprio. Even though Robbie Robertson is no longer alive, people are still talking about the problems he had with Levon Helm, his old bandmate Robbie Robertson used to work with. People had opinions about what Helm said. Some thought he was right. Others thought Robertson was treated badly. Robertson did not want to think about that. He wanted to remember the time they had together, the new music they made, and the love he still had for Helm. Robertson loved the music they created. He loved Helm. The story of these musicians is really something. It is a story about people who made music together, but it is also a story about people who did not get along. Robbie Robertson and Levon Helm made music that people will always love. They also had a big fight that hurt a lot of people. In the end, Robbie Robertson said something simple. He said that he always loved Levon Helm, even when Levon Helm did not love him back. Now, Robbie Robertson is. He leaves us with something to think about. Robbie Robertson and Levon Helm will always be remembered for their music. Should Robertson have been allowed to honor Helm publicly after his death, or was Sandy Helm right to protect her husband's feelings? Viewers are invited to share their thoughts and subscribe for more untold stories from music history.